What we learn in the beginning of the surah is Allah has taken offense to their sarcasm. Allah has taken offense to the way they speak about the akhirah. So Allah says, عَمَّا يَتَسَاءَلُونَ. So Allah responds, عَمَّا يَتَسَاءَلُونَ عَنِ النَّبَإِ الْعَظِيمِ. And this is a continuation of the question. Are they really asking about an-naba'ul azim? An-naba in Arabic means news, but there's another word in Arabic for news which is khabar. So there are two words now. There's naba and there's khabar. What's the difference between naba and khabar? First of all, an-naba'u a'zam, meaning naba is a greater kind of news. It's a more important news. That's one difference between naba and khabar. So you don't use naba for anything. Like if you know the store closes at 10 o'clock, that may be khabar. It's not naba. But you know, somebody won the election, or there's a war that started, or something huge happened, that would be considered naba. And that's how it's used in the Quran. So this is the first difference between naba and khabar. The second thing is, naba necessarily has a benefit. Also, it demands a reaction, it demands an action. It's not just something you could say, oh, that's nice, and you sit there. Like naba would be, there's a fire in the building. Right? Now, what does it demand from you? I got to get out of here. Or I got to tell other people there's a fire. Right? So this is another difference between naba and khabar. And when Allah speaks of the next life and resurrection as naba, He's referring to its tangible nature. You know, there are other religions who feel that the afterlife is some kind of a spiritual, intangible kind of thing. But even by the use of the word naba, we know it is real. It's physical, and it's not a state of mind. It's actually a state. It's a place. Anyhow, so this is عَنِ النَّبَإِ الْعَظِيمِ. Are they really asking about this enormous, and now naba is enormous in and of itself, but Allah adds azim to it, as an adjective, as a sifa to it. So is it true that they're actually asking one another in this sarcastic tone about that enormous event, about that enormous news that is supposed to lead them to some kind of action, and yet instead of leading them to action, it's leading them to make this kind of ridicule? And then Allah adds another rhetorical question. All of this is rhetorical questions so far. الَّذِي هُمْ فِيهِ مُخْتَلِفُونَ. الَّذِي actually is called ism sila, okay, ism mawsul rather. And hum fihi mukhtalifun in grammar is called silatul mawsul. All of this is an adjective of a naba. So the next ayah number 3, is actually the whole ayah is an adjective of the word an-naba. The first adjective is al-azim, and the second adjective is alladhi hum fihi mukhtalifun. And a coarse translation is that which they are themselves in disagreement in or with. Okay, they're among themselves, they are in disagreement in regards to this news. But the way the ayah is structured is in the ismiya form, in the nominal form. The benefit this has is, what this tells us is, this is something they're doing all the time. That this disagreement that they have among each other, Allah Azza wa Jal, for example, didn't say الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِيهِ يَخْتَلِفُونَ. He said الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِيهِ مُخْتَلِفُونَ. The ism fa'il is used. And the noun usage indicates something that's going on constantly. Like a noun is permanent and a verb is temporary. Then the word fihi, this prepositional phrase, has been positioned in between hum and mukhtalifun. Instead of Allah saying alladhina hum mukhtalifuna fihi, which is norm in Arabic, Allah says alladhina hum fihi mukhtalifun. And what this produces is a shock. Is it really about that they are disagreeing among themselves? Now the word ikhtilaf, a little bit about it and we move forward inshallah ta'ala. The word ikhtilaf, it indicates two things. It indicates a manifest disagreement, meaning they're actually physically disagreeing among each other. What this tells us is not only were they being sarcastic about akhirah, they all had their own theories too. Some of them had the idea, okay, we're not going to come back. Some of them had the idea, we're all going to go to heaven. So they have these different kinds of opinions about themselves, but ikhtilaf also means to have a discord or friction within one's own self. What this implies is not only did they disagree with each other, but within themselves there was uncertainty or disagreement. Sometimes they would think this, sometimes they would think that. They're not so sure. It's not like they're adamant about no, for sure there's no afterlife, or for sure we're going to be saved. They're not sure either. They're not sure. So even within themselves there's a disagreement that is taking place, and that's what Allah Azza wa Jalla depicts with these words. Then He says, كَلَّا سَيَعْلَمُونَ ثُمَّ كَلَّا سَيَعْلَمُونَ. This has been repeated, and oftentimes it's argued that this repetition takes place only for the purpose of mubalagha, which in English is called hyperbole, to emphasize something. You know, the Old English translation of كَلَّا سَيَعْلَمُونَ ثُمَّ كَلَّا سَيَعْلَمُونَ is, nay, they're going to soon find out. Nay, then again, nay, they will soon find out. This is how it's commonly translated. Let's first explore the word kalla, and then we'll talk about the repetition. Kalla, according to Sibawayh and some other grammarians, mostly from Basra, they believe that this has to do with the word rada', or stop. Meaning, whatever you're talking about, stop. You're going to find out very soon. You put it in that context, right? They're running their mouth, and all of a sudden Allah says, stop. You're going to find out very soon. So that's one opinion on what kalla means. Another opinion, which is stronger actually from the language point of view, is depends on where kalla is used. If you say kalla and you pause, and then you say saya'lamun, it means something. But if you say kalla saya'lamun together, then it means something else. Now if you say kalla and you pause, and then you say saya'lamun, like these grammarians argue in these ayat, it is jaiz, it is allowed that you stop at kalla and then you say saya'lamun. To produce that meaning, stop. Stop your nonsense. Stop this ridiculous argument. All of you be quiet. Nonsense. And then you're soon about to find out. Saya'lamun. Or they're about to find out rather. But on the other hand, if you continue and you don't stop, which is what the text of the ayah is, there's no waqf, then the meaning of kalla is associated with haqqan. Truly you're going to find out. So the idea in language generally, and also in classical Arabic, when you repeat something twice, it illustrates anger or tension or friction or something like that. So that's one opinion. The other opinion, which actually a lot of the mufassirun have taken, and seems more appropriate here, is consistent with the arguments in the rest of Qur'an. As far as the Qur'an's warnings are concerned, they're basically, the warnings are of two events. Two things. One is resurrection, the day of judgment, all the events surrounding resurrection. And the second is the hellfire, one leading to the other. But the two predominant warnings are resurrection and qiyamah, and then an-nar. So there's a lot of description in the Qur'an of resurrection day, and there's a lot of description for hellfire. So it is believed that the first one, you're really going to find out, that first one is referring to qiyamah, and the second one is referring to hellfire. So first you're going to realize how wrong you were and how obnoxious you were in the way you were talking about the akhirah. The first time you will realize this, truly realize this, when you face qiyamah. And the second time when you face the hellfire. These are the two places where you really get to know, right? So now, this is again the tafsir of why there is repetition between these two things.